goodness.
Well,
like a
recording.
bomb is about to go off. It's gonna start like counting down.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Hip Hop Podcast. I'm Gannon Teunissen, your host. Today we have Eric Grooms and Brennan Foery of Alt 9. It's a what would you guys consider yourself? What kind of genre would you think? Would pop? Would you say that? Or I don't know. You get like all over the place.
Indie pop, hip hop,
Hip-hoppity.
Christian contemporary opera. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay.
Yes, I'll sign off on that.
Yeah, I like that. Anyway, I'm very excited to have you guys here today. I'm sure you guys are excited too. I have, ever since because Brendan used to give me snippets of the stuff you guys were working on, and I'm like, damn, this is good. Like, I like it a lot. And when the EP finally dropped, 7, correct? That's what it's called. Yeah. When that finally dropped and I listened to it, I'm like, wow. Like, genuinely, as a music lover, I think it is high quality. Like, I wouldn't even assume that you guys were just 2 guys from California, you know, trying to do music. You know, I would have figured you guys have been doing this for like years together. You know what I mean? And you have. So there you go. But yeah, no, I love the album and I'm excited to talk about it. So we're gonna just kind of go right up into some questions. I guess we kind of start out with some personal stuff. You know, where you guys are from and just a little bit of your backstory and stuff like that. So Brendan, you can go first if you would like.
Sure. I'm from Vermont, southern Vermont. I started playing guitar when I was as young as I can remember. Wrote my first song when I was like 4. 2 chords, simple lyrics, and just from there, I just learned as much as I possibly could. Started playing at like local churches and stuff. Got to get on some worship teams, and really learned from great musicians, great live musicians. Learning how to complement in orchestration and just how to work together as a team and get things right. And that's where a lot of kind of my, foundation was built. Started producing when I was like 13 because I wanted to be able to make my own stuff and be able to have all the elements of a band, but be able to do it myself and not be hung up by anyone else's time schedules or whatever. So I started producing, put out my first song, and then from there just released a bunch of music, which Gannon helped me with in high school. We met, and he was like, "Yo, I'd love to work with you." And so we put out an album, and yeah, a lot of production over the last 10 years or so, and then singing and playing, guitar, bass, drums, and piano, and which has all led to me meeting Eric 2 years ago. 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
And we started this band a year ago, and he's a great lyricist and singer, and I love doing production, and we just kind of
was natural, yeah.
clicked in, and now we're where we're at.
Yeah, love it. So Eric, what about you? Where are you from? What's your backstory?
So it all started when I was born. I grew up in South Carolina, East Coast, and I never growing up imagined I'd be a musician or a songwriter or anything like that. I definitely loved music from an early age, but like a lot of somewhat sheltered Christian kids, you grow up, you listen to Christian contemporary music, and then you're like, oh, this is all that music is. Until for me, it was discovering my mom's records in the basement. She had Elvis and Styx and Kansas, a bunch of Southern rock and stuff. And I was like, oh, there's more than Jeremy Camp that exists in the world. And then, funny enough, that was kind of my introduction to music. And then I started listening to a lot of spoken word poetry, dudes like George Watsky. And I found spoken word poetry music on Spotify, whatever, bands like Listener and Basement. Is that the guy's name? I don't remember. It's been forever, but started listening to stuff like that, and I got into like poetry, and then poetry and music coming together led me to love hip hop. And I also kind of took an interest into like film, which is why I moved to LA in the first place. So I ended up liking dudes like Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, who kind of meshed the two worlds.
Of course.
And then from there, I kind of reached my fingers into it, and never did I imagine at that point in my life when I was a kid that I would ever become a songwriter. But I started writing poems, and spoken word poetry was my first thing that I ever did. And then I moved to LA, and I'm an actor too, and so I act, and I guess 2019, I decided, like, after kind of messing around, I got like a MIDI keyboard, and I was like, maybe I'm making some stuff. 2019, I kind of decided, like, okay, I'm going to put out my first single. It's called Evil Woman, and I put it out at the end of 2019, and it was great. And then I met Brendan, and then there was like a 6-month to a year-long period where we lived together and didn't work together, which, looking back, so ridiculous.
I think it was perfect though, because we didn't push anything. Like we would go on walks and talk about working together, and like it was really just slow, and we just became friends over a long period of time, relatively. And nothing was ever forced, and then it just naturally hit its thing. So I like that it took us a while, but it is weird.
Yeah, it's funny. The first song we ever did together was Wonderland, and it was originally just supposed to be, an Eric Grooms song. And, I was having trouble making a follow-up single to Evil Woman, because Evil Woman had like a little bit of commercial success, and I was like, super, I don't know what to do here, and I got all, anxious, and I was like, help me. And then I realized, and we began to realize how much, we clicked and loved working with each other. So yeah, it did happen very naturally.
Yeah.
I'm happy with where it is.
Great. That's awesome. I mean, that's crazy. The whole, poetry thing. Like, I wouldn't have expected that. That's amazing that you've found something with poetry and combining it with music and just all that stuff. Like, that's really, really cool to me. So now I'm gonna ask some individual questions. They're gonna be for both of you. So whoever wants to go first can go first. Doesn't matter.
At the same time.
Yeah, but
just keep going.
I mean, that works too. So we'll start off with Eric first, and you can answer, and then Brendan, you come in when Eric is done. So we may have kind of touched on this a little bit from what we were just talking about, but your love of music, where did it come from? Who did you listen to growing up that inspired you to want to pursue music? And Eric, you kind of touched on that a little bit, but are you able to like go into more about that?
Probably. I can talk about anything. Like, other than, so there's the spoken word poetry stuff. I mentioned George Watsky. He goes by Watsky.
Yeah.
He was the first person that I ever, I found his like poetry on YouTube, and he was the first guy that I was ever like, in love with. And I think I got a lot of different influences from a lot of different places, a lot of it's from my parents, a lot of it's from my friends. So a lot of it's like country, I grew up in the South. So like, I love country songwriting. Me and my dad will like get in the car and like drive, like go on a trip and like listen to Zach Brown Band for like hours on end. And I'll play these guys like songs, like just listen to the words, just listen to, because it's, it's such poetry. And that's really the qualifier for me to like any sort of music, and like inspiration from it is like, what's the story this is telling? How is this giving me insight into the person writing it? Like, who is this person, that's being represented, through the songwriting? And I listen to like the 1975. I love the way Matty Healy writes songs. I love, there's this Scottish rock band called Twin Atlantic. I love the way, they write songs when you can understand what they're saying, because they have the heaviest Scottish accents in the world. But really, my favorite thing is just the poetry of it all,
I am practically the exact opposite. I learned this recently. I only care about the production. Not only, that's not true. But when I was younger, all the music I liked, like when I listen back to it now, I'm like, why did I like this? Why was I listening to this as a 12-year-old? Like Tyga and Chris Brown
Usher and stuff.
Usher. and it was the production. I loved that production and the production of music. So I grew up like my favorite band was the Newsboys, which they're still around today. Like they've been a band for
They're newsmen now.
yeah, they're newsmen. And so anyway, and like the production of their music. When I listen back to some of that stuff now, I'm like, it's the production. I was always drawn to production and cool new sounds, and whether it was more hip hop or EDM or pop or all of that stuff. I just loved the production. And someone asked me one time, I was younger, I was probably 14 or 15, and they were like, so when you hear a song for the first time, what do you listen to first? Like what catches your attention, like the lyrics or the music? And I thought they would look down on me if I said the music, and because they were more kind of sophisticated and stuff, and I was like, oh, I definitely pay attention to the lyrics first. Like I straight up lied. It was like, yeah, the lyrics definitely would get me first, because I was like, they're gonna look down at me, and they were like, oh, really? That's so weird. I hear the music first. And I was like, me too, but now I can't relate with you on that level because I was always really ashamed of the things I was interested in.
Wow.
And I'm just learning this recently about myself. Like I am ashamed of like the way I like to create or the things that I find creative. Like I'm embarrassed about that. And I'm just learning that now about myself and becoming more confident and like, hey, I like what I like and that's cool.
Yeah.
I remember my mom one time, I was probably a similar age, 15, whatever. She was like, and I was making a lot of music and like had all these dreams and stuff. And she said something to me along the lines of like, I'd be worried like if you were listening to like really vulgar music or like really, bad music. I'd be like worried about you a little bit, but like I know you don't listen to that stuff, so it's okay. Meanwhile, I have like Tyga like in my ear, like listening on my earbuds. I'm like, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
I listened to the most, but it was the production. I was so drawn to the production. Anyway, so that's kind of where we differ, which is, I think, what makes this such a great.
I would agree. I mean, Eric's got the lyrics. You've got the production. I'd say great combination. I think. I totally agree with that statement. So. You guys have made music and you're artists. So what struggles did you face while pursuing this kind of dream, I guess? What was hard for you as an artist coming up to the point where you are now?
The immediate thing that comes to my head is like the biggest Goliath I've had to face has been my own like insecurity. Like I've started making music like a year ago, maybe like a year and a half ago. And I don't, know what I'm doing really. Like, obviously I have, the instincts that I have and I've honed my craft and I've put in the hours that I have put in, not to, take that away from myself. But there are days where like Brendan can attest, like I would step up to the mic and like try a couple takes and like throw the headphones down and be like, I can't do this today. Like, I just can't, like, I can't just like, we called it the hurricane one day where I don't even know if he remembers this, but I stood up to the mic and just every like negative thing that I'd ever told myself all just kind of crashed down on me the moment I had to start singing.
Really?
And I began to have to, face all the kind of the dark things in my own head before I could, express myself in a vulnerable way. And that was the hardest thing, was facing that hurricane of emotions and lies that kind of, silence those voices while trying to get the experience to stand above those voices.
Yeah. Brian, what about you? I've been with you while we made music together. I saw what you did. I remember countless times you would just have writer's block. You just wouldn't be able to come up with anything. And then one day you just like start making something and then it comes out and it's perfect. So what about what about you?
The hardest thing is for me to admit that I've had any hardship or anything, like I'm like, man, compared to other people I've had it easy, and I'll always like downplay like pain or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
Which is something I'm working on emotionally. But whatever. That's a different topic. Yeah, I guess you mentioned writer's block. For me, trusting my instincts and just making what I want to make. I would get so fixated sometimes on like something has to sound like this, or it has to have this commercial value, or these certain people have to like it, or it has to sound like this, and just that just puts so much limitation on creativity.
Yeah.
On the contrary, sometimes having too much freedom is also a limitation for me, because I'll just have all these samples and all these instruments, and I can access anything with my laptop.
Yeah.
And totally throw out just the fun of creating music just with a drum kit, just playing drums. Like growing up, that's what I did. I just banged on random things or did weird things with my guitar, and like that was the fun I enjoyed. And so I think going to extremes and either being so strict with what I was trying to make, or having so much freedom that I just got lost in it all.
Yeah.
And the key is for me just to keep having fun with it, and just let the music flow out of me rather than trying to sculpt it itself. Ed Sheeran kind of has this. He talks about the song already exists. He's just trying to find it. He's just letting the song. A lot of really good songwriters talk about letting the song write itself. And instead of me forcing whatever, just allowing it just to flow out as it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember a very particular moment, and I'm sure you remember it too, when we were sitting in Jim's office and we were making the Revealed / Departure album, and I can't think of the song off the top of my head, but you had the song that you're like, oh, I don't know if like I want to put it on the album or not. What was it?
Want You to Know.
Yes, Want You to Know. And you played it for me live with an acoustic guitar, and you finished it, and I looked at you and I'm like, you are stupid if you don't put this on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it on the album. Mm-hmm. So, you just you gotta trust yourself. You know what I mean? Like I can't make music, but I can understand that kind of like, I don't know factor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if people are gonna want this, but it's you are the artist. It's what you want to put out. You know what I mean? Which kind of leads on to my next question. So both of you are successful singers, producers. Yeah, we'll throw an air quote in. I think you're successful. When was the moment that you knew you had something special going on? Like, what was that one moment where you're like, wow, I have something right here?
Every time we touch, I feel the magic.
Sorry, we're coming close. I think it was for me when we were working on 7. It was either when we were listening back to The Magic, which is still one of my favorite verses we've ever made, which is the second verse in 7. Mm-hmm. When we listened back to what we had made with that, and we were like, that is cool. That was the first time I was like, we really like meshed together to make something really awesome. Or it was the part right before. It was definitely some point during 7, but it was when we were making that part right before the poem, where it all kind of like just the feeling of that.
Yeah.
When we were making that, I was like, this is.
Yeah. I think the song 7 was definitely, which was the third song, because it was Wonderland, Oz, then we wrote 7, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, Gannon. You tell us.
No, you're right. It was
yeah.
So we wrote so because Wonderland was very separated. I had made the beat. He was like, "Yo, I love that beat," and then he wrote on it.
Yeah.
Oz was just backwards. He wrote the entire song to a different beat, and then I made a beat. And so both were, and then 7 was the first one where he was like, "Hey, so I have this idea," and we came together and we just. So 7, the second verse, the second verse just smacks, and building that outro where it just goes, woo, and there's like the guitar solo and all that.
See, I find the ending of Seven very intriguing because it goes from a song to like Eric's inner thoughts, like looking up at the stars with the Chucks and just like just existing. And I what was the whole there you go. What was the whole like process behind that part? Like why did you want to include that?
Why did I want to do that? Is that
Yeah.
the question? So, oh, okay. So, as we know, I love poetry, and I had, I think Brennan was just working on some part of the production, perfecting some part of the drums, and it was just that we, that kind of ukulele, like ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
loop over Seven was just kind of playing, and that was really kind of it over and over. And throwback to Watsky, I'd listened to a Watsky song called "Dreams in Boxes," and there was a line where he said his dad had like a bar mitzvah in like 1974, and he had like a box of matches. Watsky had a box of matches from a dad's bar mitzvah, and he's like, "You are in the presence of somebody who possesses fire from the past," and for some reason that made me feel inspired. So I started writing a poem, completely unrelated to that. But that feeling of that line inspired, the idea of time passing for me, and that's what a lot of Seven represents, is a reflection of, just from my move to LA. Like, look at like 2-3 years of my life, right? And it was me self-reflecting and putting myself out in the front yard, staring up at the sky. And the thing about the checkered vans represents my change as a person, because when I was like 17, 18, all I wore every single day was a pair of checkered vans over and over and over and over and over again. You could not pry them off of my dead body. Until at one point in my life, I had just grown to a point where I didn't want them anymore. And I never wore checkered vans again until recently. I bought them and I've been wearing them to the gym, but that's beside the point. That's less poetic. And so that signified my change in character and my growth. I just felt like it was really fitting to put my inner thoughts and how I felt about who I was becoming as a person at the end of it. And it just felt very genuine to speak it instead of sing it.
No, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think that was a perfect ending for the whole thing, like the whole EP as a
yeah.
Like, yeah, it ends. The thing that got me the first time I listened to it is I was expecting more, and then it just stops, and I'm like, huh? Like, I thought we were gonna go for like another 2 minutes about Eric talking, but no, I just like I can't remember the exact ending, but it's just like it just cuts off, and I'm like, that's crazy, and then the album is just gone, it's done, and I'm like, wow, that's some powerful shit. Like, that's great. Yeah, no, I honestly, probably one of my favorite parts of the whole EP is that moment at the end where it just cuts off, and I'm just like, I can't even explain it. It's just one of those things, you know what I mean? Like, it just, it's got that little like nudge of like, I want more. Same thing with the intro, by the way. The intro track, I told Brendan this the other day on the phone. I listened to that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. Because, like, the production's really good, and then Eric comes in, and you start spitting, and then it just stops, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
I agree. The intro is criminally short, but that's the idea. It's an intro. It makes you want more.
Exactly. So we're going to move on to Alt9 as a group. So both of you, free flow, answer question however you want. How did Alt9 come together? What was the idea behind it? What made you guys want to be a group?
Well, it kind of goes back to like what we were talking about before. It was just really slow.
Yeah.
So we were, well, I guess kind of roommates first, and then became friends. Although that kind of happened really quickly, and it was really magical and all that. And it was a lot of. I remember when I first moved in, I had my little section that would be my music station.
Yeah.
And Eric was like, you mind if like I just like come down and just like watch you do production stuff? I'm trying to get better at production and whatnot. He's like, I'm kind of dabbling in it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And at first I was kind of stressed a little bit. It's like having someone over my shoulder watch me make tons of mistakes and like watch my entire process. Like yeah, great. That'll be great. And then we just kind of started interacting and talking, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, this is cool. It's nice to have a companion. As very much as Gannon did, back in high school working on Reveal, like having that companionship and having someone to bounce ideas and stuff. And then it kind of turned into like, I would airdrop him a beat. He'd be like, ooh, can you send me that one? And then he just like start writing on it and stuff. I was like, oh, dang, and meanwhile, he was doing a lot of his own stuff and can actually write, like he's good with words. And then it was a lot of just walks. Like we would just go walk and we talk. We actually talked a lot more about us as a band before we became a band. Like we talked about the idea of us being a band. You remember that? And it was kind of like, I'm your Phineas to your Billie Eilish.
That was the idea with like Wonderland, was like, I just want to be the Phineas to your Billie Eilish.
Yeah, it was really cute. It was really cute.
Adorable.
And so it was a lot of just long talks and we kind of talked about things hypothetically for a little bit. And Alt 9 didn't form until after we'd put out, go ahead.
The song that made Alt 9 was All Right Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like I'm realizing in this moment, All Right Okay is such a vital moment in the EP, because we talked about how All Right Okay kind of feels a little out of place in the narrative of the writing narrative, the storytelling that happens in the EP. It's kind of a left turn. It's a lot of 7 is like self-reflective, right? And then you have like a heartbreak song, right? But in that section of our life, the story that it tells in that section of our life, All Right Okay is the moment we became a band.
Yeah.
Because All Right Okay was the first time we were like, this is our song, as opposed to, Eric Grooms with Brendan Foery. Like this is our thing. And now we have that's interesting. I just realized it signifies that moment, even though it's not what the song's about, but that's very cool.
Yeah. The whole storyline is just super weird how it all happened. It was
it's perfect.
we never were going to be a band. It was originally like, okay, well, we have this song Wonderland and Oz, like how do we release it? Okay, we'll release Eric Grooms, Brendan Foery.
Yeah.
And because that's what I was doing with a lot of other co-writers and stuff. Like sometimes I would just produce stuff and just be listed as a secondary artist. I was collaborating with other people who needed help with production and stuff, and that's how. And so I was kind of seeing it as just an extension of that.
Yeah.
But then we kept writing together. 7 happened, and it was like, whoa, this feels like a follow-up. And like,
how many songs can we release as Eric Grooms and Brendan Foery? But before it's just like, all right, what's up?
Yeah.
Like,
so it was kind of out of necessity. We were like, we need to create an entity that we can put all of this under, because it isn't Eric Grooms, it isn't Brendan Foery. It's like it's a separate thing.
Yeah.
It's cheesecake.
Well, cheesecake boy. It's funny, when I first heard Oz, I thought it was Brendan, like doing the lyrics, and I'm like, oh my god, he's spitting right now. He's so great. And then I found out later it was Eric, and I'm like, oh, Eric's really good. Like I don't know what it was, but like I threw it on the first time I listened. I think it was actually at your house, Brendan. I was staying there, and it like had just come out, and you were texting us being like, oh, we just dropped a new song, and I heard it, and I'm like, oh my god, like Oz, definitely the number one on my like list of the EP. Like something about it, it's just like it's sassy, like there's just like funk to it, you know what I mean? Exactly. And I don't know, I think it's amazing. For me personally, it goes Oz, All Right Okay, and then probably 7. It took me a while to get used to Wonderland because it was such a different sound. But one day I listened to it, and I'm like, it got to the part where it was like hanging out with Mad Hatter and Alice and stuff like that. That whole section of the song, I'm like, damn, okay. There's like, there was just something about it that just finally clicked with me, and I'm like, let's go. I love this song. I mean, every song on the EP I think is fantastic.
It's funny because well, maybe not. I was gonna say the list goes most rap in the song to like least rap in the song by like how much you like it. But I realized, all right, okay, actually, it's like zero hip hop.
I honestly, I thought your verses on Oz were amazing. Like, it's one of those songs that I can just like relate to, kind of a thing. I can relate to most of the songs. I think there's something for everybody there, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you take the message how you want to take it, and then you can relate it to yourself, which I think is one of the most important things about music, is that yes, there is an intention of what the artist was trying to put out, but the beautiful thing about music is that the listener can take it and then like process it.
Yeah,
and whatever works, like whatever that connection is with you, then that's what it is, and that's the great thing about it.
There was a moment after Wonderland and Oz had come out where somebody or like two people went on Genius, I think, and they wrote out, they had like annotated all the lyrics.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I went and I looked at it and I was like, I don't know these people, like these are not my words, but I was reading it and, I was like, this isn't what it means to me, but like, I'm reading it and I'm like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it means to you. Like, then that's right. Like, I'm not going to correct you. I'm not going to come in with the green text and, do the whole like artist verified. Like, if that's what it means, that's what it means, that's what I want. It's to make people feel understood. I want people to hear it and be like, oh, this, speaks to me. So,
yeah. So to kind of, I guess, bounce off that conversation, what was the process like making the music? I mean, Eric, you sang, you rapped, you did the vocals. Brendan, you produced. It was I'm sure it was a collaborative effort. And did you guys like bounce ideas off of each other? Like, what was the process like when you were going through each song?
Yeah, well, I mean, the process was different for almost each one. Like I said, like Wonderland was the first one, and that stemmed from me just making lots of beats, and then Eric deciding which ones he liked and asked me to airdrop them to him. Wonderland was one of those songs. He took it and wrote lyrics for it in a matter of like a day or two, and then we were tracking it, and then it sat for a while. Actually, it wasn't until months or weeks or something later where we went back and listened to a few songs we've been working on.
Yeah,
Wonderland. We listened to Wonderland, and we were like, we need to release this. Yeah,
we're working on like Vampire or something, like some unreleased that's like never gonna be released.
Yeah,
and we just we were just like, okay, we need a break from this one we're working on. When we heard Wonderland, we were like, immediately we need to finish the song.
I had totally forgot about it, and it started playing, and I was like, oh, that's actually good.
Yeah, I remember first he airdropped me the beat for Wonderland. I wrote like a verse and a pre-chorus for it, and I like brought him up in my room to listen to it. And the pre-chorus, he was like, "Oh yeah, the pre-chorus is great. That's the like, send it down to Wonderland, bombs of a little time." That was that part. And then I had like a whole other verse, and he's like, "Okay, it's a little slow. I like it. It's good." And I was like, "All right, I gotta rewrite this whole verse." Because Brendan is very polite. He'll never tell me something sucks, but he'll be like, okay, it's interesting.
I know that exact phrase. Yeah.
Right. So immediately from day one, Brendan was pushing me to be better, and that's
and then he came back with it like hours later or like the next morning, and I was like, yes, and then so that was Wonderland.
Brilliant.
And the rest of them really evolved from there. Like sometimes Eric will have an entire song written lyrically, and then bring it. Sometimes like with 7, he'll just have a sample and then like a verse, and then he'll be like, I came back from one of my trips to Vermont and came back and we just had a listening session of like 6 different ideas he'd been working on. I was like, oh, these are good. Like I was getting excited, and he played 7, and it was at that point just a little sample and then the first verse, and I heard all the drums and my brain just lit up, and I was like, this, and we kind of looked at each other. We were like, follow-up single, okay, and we got to work on it, and then during the process, it's very much like I'll just be going doing my thing, and then he'll be like, ooh, I just heard boom, and I'll be like, okay, boom, or he'll be working on lyrics or whatever. and usually that section goes goes by quick, and then we got a flow going, and then simultaneously we're tracking usually, scratch track vocals and and then so from there it's just kind of back and forth. I'm doing my production stuff, he's refining lyrics and stuff. And one of the coolest things for me about Alt9 is I've always wanted a band. I've always wanted to be in a band, to have that companionship. So it's a dream come true, but then also I've always struggled the most with lyrics. Like, I love writing lyrics, but it takes so much energy, and it's just not, it's something I want to get better at, but it's not a priority to me. And so that's another reason why I feel like we work so well together. He pumps out lyrics like I pump out music, and it's just it works so well, and I feel much less exhausted. We're working with him because we kind of rejuvenate each other.
Yeah, we play to each other's weaknesses. Like, our strengths are the other person's weakness, and that's what makes good stuff happen.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting for me, Brendan, seeing where you are now, and I'm gonna kind of bring this up later, but like back in high school, dude, you wanted to push out that album, and like you focused on lyrics and stuff like that, and now here you are just like doing production stuff, not only for Alt9 and Eric, but like other people too. Like, I think that's just it's such a, in my head I'm just like, wow, this is the kid that I grew up knowing that I would be in practice room 1 with him, and sitting there listening to it, and me being the one telling you that like you should do this with the music, like with the production instead of this. And I mean, Idea 51, I mean, I don't even know how many different versions of Idea 51 there was, but I said to you, I'm like, rap. And you're like, oh, I don't know about that. And then I'm like, no, do it. Like, just do it. And then you did it, and you came out with it, and it was great. It was phenomenal. I'm sure if you went back to it now, you would be able to do a million times more with it. You know what I mean? So it's crazy that, like, for me, listening to your old stuff and then coming to Alt9 stuff and just hearing the production is just, it's spot on. I think it is. And the lyrics too, Eric, obviously. And I just like the combination. I think it just really, really suits both of you very well, which brings me up to my next kind of section. Eric, there were a lot of moments in this EP that felt very personal for you, at least the way I took it. A lot of personal touches with lyrics and stuff like that. Again, a lot of relatable moments. Songs like Oz and All Right, Okay kind of stick out in my head. So what were the inspirations behind them? Like, if you want, we can play a little bit of them, and then talk about that.
Yeah, let's do. How about you find the parts in each of those songs that you find the most intrigued by, or the most like heard by, and I'll comment on.
All right. Give me one moment. I was not prepared for this part. I gotta find you guys in Spotify. Here, no, wrong band. There you go.
He pulls up Alt J.
So I'm gonna pull up. All right. I'm just gonna start it from the beginning. I gotta share my audio. So give me one moment. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it coming through the Zoom. Okay.
All right, yeah. All right, okay. Don't play, just say what you gotta say. Is that right? No way. Guess you never really liked me anyway. All right, okay. Guess the grass ain't green on this side. On this side.
So I'll stop it there. So what was that intro, which is I think also the chorus, if I'm correct, somewhat.
The All Right, Okay part, where
the na na na's are the chorus.
The na 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 is the chorus. I don't know. The structure of the song is strange. It's very 2000s, you know, Reliant K kind of rocky, whatever. Man, I don't know. I don't remember the workflow for that for All Right Okay was so fast. All Right Okay just like spun itself together so quickly, and I think I heard that dum, 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 and then I was in a place where I was frustrated in my love life, and All Right Okay is an interesting song because it was the first song that I wrote that didn't have an immediate connection to my life. So like everything else in that EP was like what I was experiencing in that moment or something I was reflecting on over the past year in that moment. All Right Okay, I didn't understand what I had written All Right Okay about until I was on FaceTime with my mom, and she's like, you know, that was about Redacted, right? She's like, you know, it's about that girl, right? From your past. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, son, you're telling me that this song did not just perfectly describe this entire experience you have with this girl. And I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, it did. You know, I'm like, this song means nothing. This is whatever, you know, and so much of my conversation with that girl would be like, all right, okay. Like all right, okay. You're saying these things, but I know you don't mean them, you know?
Yeah.
All these things you say, all right, okay. You don't actually like me, like whatever. You know, I got to a point where I was frustrated, and all I could say was, "All right, okay."
I've been there, done that. Let me play a little bit more of it, and we'll talk about it.
I must have been sleeping, I must have been dreaming. I thought you said you're more than a friend. Well, maybe I'm crazy and maybe I'm stupid. I put myself through it again. Interstate, late night phone call, come get me, babe.
So that part right there, the 3 a.m. on the interstate, like that whole build up to the verse is my favorite part of the song. Does that have any context at all to you about like what happened at 3 a.m. on the interstate?
I picked her up, dude. I told her I wouldn't, but I did it anyways. That's what it's about. The amount of things I did for Redacted is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I find myself doing that a lot in my relationships. You know, you don't care about me. You just want the things that I will do for you, because I will break my back for you. You beautiful. And also, by the way, I just want to say, listening back to it, you snapped on that chorus. Just especially like the second chorus when that drum it.
It's a hi-hat, baby. The open hi-hat.
Oh, you're just so good, baby. Oh my gosh. Okay. Bro. I just wanted to gas you up.
We'll talk later.
So I was gonna play Oz.
Okay.
But looking at it now, Alive, that was my other favorite song from the EP.
Are we gonna talk about Alive?
Yeah. Are you okay, Gannon?
No.
Alive was your favorite. Are you good?
So we're gonna play Alive. We're gonna play a little bit of it, and then we'll talk about it. How's that sound?
Sure.
All right, here we go. All right.
Two left feet and a bottle of Adderall. I'm clinging on to dreams of the day when I have it all. Interpreting prophecies, I'll pretend I'm a miracle. What does that even mean? Yeah. 2 more weeks until I'm ready to call it off. I'll move back east and then pretend I'm a prodigal. Competitive hypocrisy is making me cynical. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I've tried so hard, taking a shot in the dark to try to feel alright. And I've tried so hard, making it up on the spot to feel worth your time. And I've tried so hard, but I won't lie, it's been too long since I felt alive. Tell me if you think I'm broken. Tell me.
So I hate to pause that, but that pre-chorus, those lyrics, they like, so again, one of the songs that hits me the most, like, is from the beginning to the end, like it gets me. So that before the beat drops in that pre-chorus, is that what it's called? It's pre-chorus, right? Like, or something like that. Like, what is that? If you want, I can play it again, and you can.
No, I can think of something to say, I'm sure. The pre-chorus, man. I've tried so hard.
Yeah.
Making it up on the spot to feel worth your time.
Yeah, that hits me. That hits me.
Yeah.
Like,
I genuinely, part of me like doesn't want to tell you where it comes from for me, because I want it to still hold that personal value for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like at a certain point, like I listen to it and I hear my own journey, my own struggle, and I know you listen to it and you hear yours.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's so beautiful to me. But the reason, what I was feeling in that moment was a release of what felt like fruitless effort, both spiritually, mentally, creatively. Emphasis on I've tried so hard, and Alive is a reflection of, who I was when I first moved to LA, just trying to prove that I was worth something, to myself, to people around me, to God. Like, so much of Alive is just about my spiritual journey, just about, my relationship with God, and realizing that comfort only comes from release of those things that I was holding on to.
Yeah.
Feeling worth your time. That line is directed towards God. I've tried so hard, making it up on the spot, taking a shot in the dark, like just trying fruitlessly.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of want to keep playing some more if you guys want to. Yeah,
go for it.
All right.
You think I'm out of line? Tell me if you think I'm crazy. The photos on my phone don't feel like mine, and I feel like a stranger lately. I feel like I'm going out my mind. I'm covered in lust, and I'm covered in gluttony. I'm swimming in pride, and I'm drowning in jealousy. I want to take a breath, but I'm choking on apathy, and I want to be seen. Yeah.
It's interesting now that you just kind of told me that whole first part. I now understand that with the gluttony, with all of that stuff. Is it Bible references? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Both of the verses in that song are incredibly biblical. Like, I'll move back east and then pretend I'm a prodigal. Like the prodigal son in the Bible, yeah. The son who takes his birthright and like moves away and like moves out west, to the city, the big city, and wastes all his time, partying and hooking up with girls, and,
yeah.
and comes home and finds himself in the pig trough, and his father comes out and welcomes him and brings him inside. And, I was like, if I move, I'll move back home because I'm just sick of this. And then I'll pretend like this is my grand return. There's a lot of biblical themes in everything that I write. And yeah, so much of my, so much of that second verse was like, yeah, at that time I was drowning in those things. Like I, as I feel like a lot of Christians find themselves, stuck in.
Yeah, no, that's a totally understandable, valid response to that, I think. I mean, everybody, whether you're religious or not, like everybody always kind of has that voice in the back of their head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think what I love so much about Alive is that Alive is a reflection of who I was at the beginning of the spiritual journey the journey that takes place from the beginning of the EP to the end. It's the first song, the first real like full song. And it starts off with this place of, tell me if you think I'm crazy. Like, tell me if you think I'm out of line. Tell me if, I'm out of my brain. Like, just tell me I'm broken. Like, just tell me so I can take that off my shoulders. And then by the time we get to 7, I'm saying things like, please don't tell me I'm not worth it. Like, I promise you you're wrong. Please don't tell me I'm not perfect. I promise you I already know these things. Don't tell me I'm not this, because I know who God says I am. and that's, you know, creates a, you know, it paints a spiritual journey. Personally, that's what I went through.
I love that. It's amazing.
And I just add, all my snares were holy snares.
They were. Yeah. He would pray before he hit the MIDI pad every time. It was crazy.
Really? So, speaking of Brendan.
Yeah.
So you produced this album, correct?
I think so. That's what people tell me, at least.
Okay. Well, that's what I've heard. So for you, what was it like to produce this project? Personally, I think it's so much different than the style that you usually do, because we've talked about this before. It's like, oh, Brendan Foery product, like it sounds like Brendan Foery, you know what I mean? But this doesn't sound like Brendan Foery, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a good thing. You kind of, it seemed like you branched out and found this new Brendan Foery style. So like, what was it like for you? Was it challenging? Or were you open to trying to use this new production style that was featured on the EP?
Both, honestly. I love it when I have parameters. Like, you know, I was talking about before, sometimes there's just so much, like there's too much freedom, and I try to grasp at everything. I love sometimes when I'm just given like kind of just a box of parameters, because that doesn't trap me in. You know, it gives me some guidelines, and fighting against, you know, like in acting, if you're supposed to be crying, we want to see you fight not to cry. And it creates that tension. And so fighting against some of my natural tendencies where I feel safe, and breaking out and being more vulnerable, it definitely is what I try to do as an exercise. And when I'm doing stuff alone, it's harder for me to do that. But, you know, working with Eric, he has a lot of very specific ideas in mind, and then also has a lot of like, I don't know. So it creates like this great tension and balance of me being able to trust my instincts, but also being having certain parameters that I get to create within.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
So it was challenging, but it was freeing in a way, because I was like, I have a specific kind of direction in mind, and like I know I'm not making an EDM song, even though there's lots of times I would turn our tracks into EDM songs sometimes.
Like, hey, buddy, can we bring it just a little bit?
And so, yeah, this type of music is honestly what I grew up listening to and kind of loving. A lot of this style of music is very pop rocky kind of, and that's like what I grew up listening to a lot of the time. So it's just fun.
I think the feeling of you breaking out of your comfort zone in the production, and I've told Brendan this several times before, but in his production, especially on the EP, he brings his presence to it, and that presence is that of somebody breaking out of their comfort zone, finding something new, you know, in some ways going back to the roots, in some ways breaking into something that's completely unexplored, and it creates an air of both lyrically and, you know, musically and sonically as a whole, somebody finding themselves.
Yeah,
and I think that's what brings the whole thing together so beautifully. Is in our own ways, we're both kind of experiencing the same things and creating. You know.
Yeah, agreed.
It's cool.
Well, I mean, Brendan, you and I have talked about this hundreds of times, where we compare your production style from high school to now. Like it has just grown tremendously, I think. And I honestly respect the decision that you made, that you want to focus more on production. And I mean, you can write lyrics, of course, obviously, but it's like there was something with lyrics and production, you can express it in different ways. You know what I mean? Like lyrics express one thing, production expresses another thing. So I think you really have found your niche with the product, especially in Seven, like the album, the EP. I mean, like every single track, there's not one track where I'm like, oh, that didn't sound good. You know what I mean? Like, and you know me, I've given you tough love before, with like things that, change this, do this kind of a thing. And not because like I'm telling you to do it. I'm listening to it and I'm hearing it. And I'm like, as an audience person, as someone listening, genuinely listening to this music, what would I want to hear that would sound good to me, or, to the ear? And I mean, you always you respected that, you always have. But again, with this specific project, there is not one moment where I'm like, wow, that should have been different. I think you nailed it with the production, and Eric, you nailed it with the lyrics. Like it melds so well together, I think. And it's just, I want more of it. Like I hate the fact that it's only like 6 songs. Like I want more of Alt9 and what you guys do. Like I think genuinely, and for someone, I mean, you know me, Brendan, for someone who doesn't listen to pop music or whatever, that this kind of stuff, like I can't get enough of it. Like the past 4 days, I've just had it on repeat. Just, obviously preparing for this interview, but like just in general, it's just so good. It's so good.
I think that's kind of what's cool about Alt9 is it does ride that line of being pop so much, but it doesn't follow all the specific formulas of pop. So it doesn't sound like pop, but it's super pop, which is cool. It's like, it's pop that people who don't like pop like.
Well, exactly. So like I have shown my friends the EP, and I'm like, listen to this. And they're like, it's not usually my cup of tea, that the type of music, but like it's good, it's solid. Like many people have been like, yeah, I don't listen to pop that much, but I like this album. You know what I mean? So I think you guys have kind of hit this stretch of like kind of balancing out, you know what I mean? Like just kind of making it your own thing, and I don't want to say like coming up with a new genre, but like, because you're not, but like it's just, it's different, and that's good, and that's what music needs. It needs to be different. So I have one final question for both of you. It's funny because I was going to have this question up earlier in the thing, and then during the interview, I'm like, this doesn't make sense right here. So the question is, why do you think so many people, young people like ourselves, explore the art of making music? What does it take to be an artist that people want to listen to?
So the question is, why do so many young people try to be musical artists?
Yeah.
And what does it take to be, I don't want to use the word successful, but successful in an artistic sense?
Yeah.
I think the first thing that popped in my head is like, I think people have always wanted to make music. I think people have always wanted to be artists. I think people have always been artists at heart. I think it's just easier now to actually try and do it than it ever has been. It's easier to get Logic Pro on your MacBook and then, release something on SoundCloud than it ever has been, know. Yeah. Whereas I know, like, I would not be doing as well as I am if I didn't have, auto-tune and, Logic Pro. And like, if I actually had to play and if I had to actually like play all these instruments and like sing good, like, oh my gosh, dude, I would be in a world of hurt. I would have given up a long time ago. I think, and to keep it short and sweet, I think what it takes to be a successful musical artist is honesty. And I think that's really the key thing. And I think you can, show your honesty in many different ways. I think, Jimi Hendrix showed honesty through his guitar. People responded to that. But to express what's going on inside of you in, you know, in an exterior fashion is all it takes. People need to see themselves in what you do, and you can only get that by being honest.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Man, I have lots of thoughts on this question. Like, my mind just went boo, 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 like just hit a bunch of rabbit trails, and I'm like, I forgot, like, so much. So we'll do another podcast thing. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But honesty, yeah, and I struggle with musical honesty. Like, it's something I really struggle with because I'm like, it has to sound like this. It has to sound like this person. And going back to me feeling like ashamed of the things I'm interested in or that creatively fulfill me, I really struggle with that part. And it's something I'm working on and getting better at. It's just being vulnerable and honest through music. Dude, I had so many thoughts. I don't even know. So why? Yeah, I totally agree with why so many. Like, it's so easy now to be an artist.
Yeah.
And to Eric's point, like, everyone is an artist. Everyone who does this, they create something. And it's funny, when I was younger,
Lil Pump is an artist somewhere deep in there.
Somewhere. No shade, maybe a little. When I was younger, people would be like, because I played all these instruments, people would be like, hey, if you ever like make that computer music, you know, don't do that. I'm like, no, I'm never gonna make that computer music. Like,
don't make that computer music.
And here I am making computer music. I don't think I played a single, that guitar solo in 7 that you hear at the end is me going like screaming into the mic, putting a guitar
like
amp.
Don Bellion type thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so I don't even think I played a single instrument on this. Like, it's samples, it's arcade.
We played around with putting acoustic guitar on Dear Hometown was what we played around with doing acoustic.
Oh yeah, which we need to do a little promo pump because we have a new single coming out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, and now I'm just making computer music, and you know, it's great. And I love playing live too. I'm getting off topic, but
I can't wait to.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited!
I cannot wait to do play live shows with you.
What's cool though, what COVID kind of did though, is it took away the guilt of not playing live. Because like, I know as a musician, when you're making music and writing music, you feel guilty that you're not out playing, you know, because you're like, oh, it's exposure and it's practice. But COVID shut everything down. We had to just focus on becoming a band and making honest music.
I'm so glad we did.
And that's what we did. And now we're like at the point where we're finding our rhythm and stuff, and we're working on new music,
and like once everything opens up, we have a catalog to perform. Yeah. Like, it's not like extensive.
That's what would be my answer to what it takes to be an artist or a successful artist is actually music. So many people are musicians and they don't have any music. Like, hey, where can I hear your stuff? Like, well, I don't have anything out yet.
It's all in here.
It takes music. Like, to be a musician, you have to have music.
So a little bit of an impromptu question I just kind of came up with after that conversation.
I know.
If you were to look back at yourself 5 years ago, what would you say?
Dude, you are in for such a ride. Like, and I haven't even gone on the majority of the ride yet, but like the perspective ride in front of us is like is unreal. 5 years ago, what was that? I would have been like, 16, something like that. 16-year-old me would have been like, you're lying.
Yeah,
you're lying to me. Like, you mysterious older ginger man, get out of my life. I would have thought I was being lied to.
5 years ago.
I mean, I was with you 5 years ago, Brennan. Like,
bro, I probably would have just said, keep going. I don't know. Be honest. Don't try to be cool. Don't try to be cool.
Is the question what we would say to our younger selves, or what our younger selves would think if they saw us?
What was it? I don't know.
In future you, looking back at you 5 years ago, like current you, talking to 5 years ago you.
Well, what I said to 5-year-old, 5-year-old Eric, 5 years ago. Oh, that's not what I answered. I failed the test. Don't try to be cool. Be honest. And have faith in your instincts.
Yeah.
Everything you need is like already in here. Like, that's so cliche, but like yourself is like you already have what you need.
No, not cliche at all. I mean, if you're a music artist and you have the passion to do it, just put it out. Like, people will hate. You'll always have haters, kind of a thing. But at the end of the day, you are your own person. You are your own artist. You don't have to listen to anybody else. Just do what feels right with you. Trust me. I mean, Brendan knows this. I've wanted to learn how to play guitar for years, and I can't do it. I'm dyslexic. I don't know this, all the little things. But like, just because I'm like that doesn't mean that I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, so you guys definitely have that drive, and I can see it. I can see it just from this past almost it's almost been an hour. Like, you guys have this thing that you've built separately and together, and you kill it. I mean, you just gotta do what you want to do as a band, as an individual, and then magic kind of does its own thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, well, I want to play one more song.
Okay. Cool.
And that can kind of be the outro for this whole interview, because I haven't really planned on how we're going to end this. So we'll just do it this way. We're going to play another song from the album, or EP, whatever you want to call it.
EP.
And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we're just going to go for it. You ready?
He plays in your hometown.
Here we go.
I'm gonna get the words right this time. 75% chance. Decent odds knowing me. Alright, let's go. Well, I don't wanna talk pride, let's just let it go. I just keep my eyes wide and my head low. Used to keep my mind high and my breath slow. Then I learned that worshiping idols is worse than death row. Yeah, right, dog. Why you always gotta say these things? Why your breath smell like blue cheese and onion rings? How come every time you hate it's from computer screens, but when it's time to face me, your FaceTime ain't answering? I don't know, he just didn't pick up. I'm just joshing though. Ain't got no haters yet. Nope. Not even 24 like Lakers were in 96. And yo granny know me, she say that the flow is sick. She baked me apple pie, I bite it, say that was delish. Yum. And I don't ever gotta wash the dish again. Why? I'm dripping hard, I got water like Lake Michigan. Bro, stop, that was really corny. Like, yeah, that was corny. Like Kansas, my stanza's been stuck in Wonderland. I'm so famished, I'm stammering for a couple grand. I can't stand it, I'm staring him straight up in his eyes. And now this wizard says that everything I know's a lie. No, I really don't believe it. I didn't come this far on yellow bricks to be defeated. I feel cheated, like everyone around me's on the inside of a joke. And I'm just Truman, stuck inside the show. Well, I wish that I could see a little clearer. I wish I liked the guy in the mirror. I wish that I could be more honest, baby, when modesty isn't an option. I wish that I knew where to go when the last page of the storybook closes and my sanity is back on the shelf and the time for being hopeful is over. Well, lately, baby, I've been going crazy. Maybe I could go insane, or maybe you could come and save me. I don't really like to play, but if insisted, I'd say maybe we could figure it out, right? Well, the man in the mirror says I am not good enough. Only thing I can do right is write a few rhymes, but I don't sing well enough. Only time I can defeat my mind is when my mind is all filled up with pins and needles, brand and beetles, and plenty of reasons to man up. Well, that's a placebo effect. I got a lion inside of my veins, scarecrow inside of my head. I try to find my mind, but lately I can't even get out of bed. These lions, tigers, bears, oh me, oh my, I might be dead. I wish that I could see a little clearer. I wish I liked the guy in the mirror. I wish that I could be more honest, baby, when modesty isn't an option. I wish that I knew where to go when the last page of the storybook closes and my sanity's back on the shelf and the time for being hopeful is over. I'm the son of a woman and man who are polar opposites. Diametric opposition. I hide behind this wall of confidence, fearful competition between me and the man in the mirror. The man has a beard and the man isn't me, it's my dad. I feel myself slipping into his shoes. Genetic requisition, I guess. Now, does it make me an indigo child if I'm happy in a red and I'm happy in a blue? At the end of the day, does it matter to say that I'm purple if it don't feel true? What if I'm green? Right? What if I'm orange? What if I'm tie-dye, lilac, or chartreuse? Because if the painter's blind, then there ain't no use. There's no valid excuse. There's no reason at all for you to be so obtuse. Because every color looks the same in the dark. And if the world was blind, I would still miss the mark. And after all this time, no one can tell me why the subject matter is never quite as beautiful as the art. Cheesecake.
There we go.
Love it.
I
know we did
love that song. It's one of my favorites. Like, just the whole flow, the whole thing. It's just, just right in their face. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
I want to go make music now,
I know.
but I can't
Yeah.
because I lost my laptop
Forgot his laptop stolen at the airport.
Oh,
today flying back. Yeah, I swapped laptops with this woman named Renee.
Shout out Renee.
Shout
We
out
love you.
Renee.
It's not your
I'm
fault.
trying to track you down.
well, Renee, if you're watching, Brendan has your laptop.
Oh my gosh.
She's watching from your laptop.
I literally can't make music right now. Everything is on. This is the
We
ultimate.
can use my laptop. It's
That's
just
true.
It's just basic Logic Pro with
That's
nothing
true.
fancy.
Well, hey, I like parameters, so.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming in and talking, and just expressing things. Like I've told Brennan this. I've wanted to know the backstory of this group, of the project, and I think we got it. I think we figured it out, and
Awesome.
I can die a happy man now.
Please don't.
Yeah, don't die yet.
Well, I'm not playing. But yeah. So thank you very much.
Can we, real quick, can we plug the new single?
Oh yes. Do it.
Well, I was supposed to be like submitting it and stuff.
Oh, right.
I don't have my laptop though. I literally opened my laptop today to do. So I have a couple final tweaks for the master, and so I was like, I'm gonna open my laptop and work on the master. And so I don't know what's gonna happen yet. It depends if I can find my laptop, and we might have to. I don't know, but it's supposed to come out the end of July. And I don't want to say an official date yet because I don't want to be a liar. But it's supposed to come out the end of July. It's called Dear Hometown, and it is a banger, and we're excited.
Yeah, a little late summer banger for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool stuff.
Very, very exciting. Hopefully we can hear it. If Brendan gets his laptop back.
Well, here it may just not be the final version that I wanted it to be, but
That's
The
fair.
rough final version
it'll be
is
the rough
still
final
really
version.
good. So
Yeah.
he's the only person who's gonna hear a difference. So
Great. So what was the date for that again?
End of July.
End of July. Okay. Great. Well, I am anticipating it. Very excited. Thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
here and having a very deep discussion, I think, about just you guys and your process and individual, you guys as individuals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure and a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna hit this. Stop share. Okay. This has been the Hip Hop Podcast. We have Alt9, Brennan Foery, Eric Grooms. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.